Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we will be going through a P6 Science prelim paper from Rosyth. So we are going to start off with the paper 1 MCQ section. Okay. Let us move into the first question one. Okay. All plants make their own food. Okay, maybe. Yep. Reproduced by seeds? No, because some plants reproduce by spores. Bear flowers and fruits? Also no. Some reproduce by spores. Need oxygen at night only? No, they need oxygen all the time during the day and also at night. So the answer will be number 1. Question 2. Many years ago, a scientist discovered an animal P and studied its characteristics. Some of the characteristics of animal P are as shown. So, animal P lays eggs, it's 4 legs. It can swim in water, can produce milk to feed the young. Okay, so which of the above characteristics make it difficult to classify animal P as a mammal? Okay, so we know that for mammals, right, the ability to produce milk to feed its young, yep, this is one of the characteristics of mammal. So we can immediately eliminate those with option D. Okay, and since option 1 and 3 both will have as an A, okay, so A is definitely included and there is no B, so B is not included. So option A, which lay eggs? A. Option C, most mammals will be able to swim in the water. It's just whether they can stay inside water for a prolonged period of time, like whales and seals. Okay, they want the characteristics that make it difficult. Okay, and most mammals will also have 4 limbs at least, which means that the characteristics that make it difficult would be option A. Okay, because if we have to choose between 1 and 3, I don't think C will be the option that makes it difficult to classify animal E. Okay, so it should be number 1. Okay, question 3. Study the 4 setups as shown below. All setups were placed near a window on a sunny day. So near a window on a sunny day, that means there will be ample sunlight. Okay, and let's take a look at the 4 setup. So setup A, B, C, D. Okay, before we look closer, maybe we should continue on to read the question. Lime water changes from colorless to chalky in the presence of carbon dioxide. This is something that the student should know by now. In which setup will the lime water turn chalky the slowest? Okay, so they want to know which one will turn chalky the slowest. Okay, which means that the amount of carbon dioxide should be the least. Setup A has got beetle, so beetle will give out carbon dioxide. Setup B has nothing. Setup C has ferns. Usually ferns are green plants. Setup D has mushroom. So mushroom is not a green plant, it's a fungi. So the one that will give out the least amount of carbon dioxide is probably setup C, okay, due to the presence of the ferns. Okay, beetle will produce carbon dioxide, so A will be the fastest. Okay, and C will be the one that will turn the lime water chalky the slowest. Setup C is number 3. Question 4. Some scientists claim that plants will glow in the dark when modified. So which part of the plant cell has been modified for the investigation? Okay, so in order to modify the plant in such a way that it can glow in the dark, you probably want to modify the nucleus, because the nucleus is where the genetic information are. Okay, number 2. Question 5. Which one of the substances is not transported by the human circulatory system? Okay, circulatory system transports water. Okay, digested food, yep. Carbon dioxide, yes. Okay, undigested food is transported by the digestive system. So number 4 is the answer. Okay, question 6. The 2 graphs below show Mary's breathing before exercise and during exercise respectively. So this is before and this is during. Okay, we can see that it's showing the volume of air that is breathed. Okay, and in which ways will Mary's breathing change during, this one should be exercise. Okay, so a few things that we can probably see is, this is when she breathes in, okay, and this is when she breathes out. Okay, so there are 2 things that we can observe. One is the volume changes, because at first the volume is here to here, then during exercise the volume is here to here. Okay, so volume increased and also the frequency also increased. If you look at the number of times she breathed in and out in maybe 5 seconds. Okay, comparing here. You also breathe in and out more times during exercises. Okay, in which ways will Mary's breathing change during exercise? So time taken for 1 breath, yep. Volume of oxygen breathed in, yep. So volume of nitrogen breathed out. Breathe in more, then you will also breathe out more. Volume of carbon dioxide breathed out, yes. Okay, if you breathe in more, then you also breathe out more carbon dioxide. Okay, so in this case, the answer should be number 4. Question 7. The diagram shows part of the stem of a small tree with a ring bark removed. So this is the part where the ring of bark is removed. Okay, removing the ring of bark takes away the food carrying tube, okay, but not the water carrying tube. The effect of removing the ring of bark was observed after some time. Okay, what would be the effect? So for the upper part, the stem and the leaf will probably remain as green. Okay, because the water carrying tubes are not removed, so the leaves will still be receiving water. Stem will probably be swollen, okay, because the food produced on the upper part cannot be transported downwards. Lower part probably will not be swollen, so it will be normal. Okay, so nothing to cross because we already crossed out option 2. Okay, the leaf will probably remain as green. Okay, so for this question number 7, the answer will be number 4. Question 8. A group of boys wanted to carry out an experiment to find out if mopping the floor will increase their pulse rate. The steps of their experiment are as follows. So take a wet mop the floor continuously for 10 minutes, stop mopping and measure the pulse rate immediately. Okay, the teacher said that they have forgotten an important step, and without that step they cannot make a conclusion. So which step would they should they include in their experiment so that they can make a conclusion? Okay, so they want to find out what they want to find out. Find out if mopping the floor increases the pulse rate. Okay, so in this case, they measured the pulse rate immediately at the end, and they did not measure the pulse rate at rest. Okay, so there is no basis to compare the pulse rate before and after the action of mopping the floor. Okay, so the answer should be number 3. Repeating the experiment will not allow you to make the conclusion. Recording the results in the table also will not allow you to make the comparison. Okay, measure the heart rate after mopping. Yeah, heart rate and pulse rate are basically the same, so you need the pulse rate at rest to make a comparison. Question 9, the diagram below shows the human reproductive system. So the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. Okay, where are the human reproductive cells produced? So okay, for the male, it will be produced at A, testes, and then for females, it will be produced at D, which is the ovary. So the answer should be A and D, number 3. Question 10, the diagram shows a cross-section of a flower. So which one of the following statements is correct? Okay, fertilization occurs at D, yes. A will become a seed after fertilization. No, after fertilization, the flower will become a fruit. Pollen grains are transferred by insect to B. No, it's not to B, it's from B. From B to A. Sorry, from B to C. The reproductive cells are found in B and C. No, it's found in B and D. So the answer is number 1. Okay, question 11. Which graph correctly shows the relationship between the mass of seed leaf and the height of the seedling? Okay, height of the seedling and the mass of the seed leaf. Okay, so we know that as the height of the seedling increase, the mass of the seed leaf should decrease, right? So this doesn't show a decrease, this doesn't, only option number 2. Question 12, the diagram below show some fruits on a tree and a baby inside a mother's womb. Okay, Alex made 3 statements about the fruit and the baby. So the statements are talking about both the fruit and the baby. It develops into an adult. Okay, so which of the following is correct? Only the baby will eventually develop into an adult. The fruit does not. It developed after fertilization. Okay, it obtains a food from its parent for growth. Okay. Oh, okay, because we are talking about the fruit, and so maybe I put a tick and cross. Which of the following is correct? Correct for the fruit. This is not for the fruit, this is for the baby. Okay, so I need to cross out those with A. B is correct for both. So for both the fruit and the baby, they will need option B. So I think it is pretty clear that the answer should be number 3, because a baby inside a mother's womb, A and C, obtains food from its parent for growth. Yep. Okay, so yep, the answer is number 3. Question 13. Ravi compared the life cycles of 2 animals and made the following statements. Both their young resemble the adult. Okay, both animals have 3 stages in their life cycle. So 3 stages and resembles the adult. Okay, which animal was Ravi comparing? So I can cross out those 4-stage life cycle animal below. It resembles the adult chicken and grasshopper. Yes. Okay, so we only left with option number 4. Question 14. CT carried out an experiment on germination of seeds using 2 types of seeds placed in identical containers A and B, as shown below. Okay, she predicted that the seeds will germinate faster with 50 ml of water. However, her friend predicted that adding only 10 ml of water will help the seeds to germinate faster. Okay, which of the following setups should CT use to provide a correct test for both their predictions? So this is cotton wool with 50 ml and this is the cotton wool with 10 ml. Okay, so in this case, we need to make a comparison between the 50 ml of water and 10 ml of water. So for option 1, okay, we have a cotton wool with 50 ml and we have a cotton wool with 10 ml, but there's really only one type of seed. Okay, hold on. Question again. Oh, okay, there are 2 different types of seeds. Okay, so these and these are different type of seeds. Okay, so for option 1, I don't have let's call this A and B. Okay, I don't have the option where there's a A without any water. So number 1, I cannot make the comparison. Number 2, yes, you have A with water and A without water. You have B with 10 and B without. Okay, but I need A with 10 ml. Okay, they don't have the option where I can see comparing A with 10 ml. Okay, so option 3 is also wrong because I can't compare type A at all. Okay, option 4 will have okay, these 2 comparing A in 50, and I have also these 2. Try to use a different color. Okay, this is the 10 ml, this is the 50 ml. Okay, for A, and then this is the 50. We can compare like any 2, and also we have the 10 for the B. Okay, so the answer is number 4. Question 15. The diagram below shows a substance X. Okay, substance X in a container at various temperatures. So this is substance X at 10 degree, 28, 32, and 40. Based on the above information, which of the following is the melting point of substance X? So melting point is when it changes from solid to liquid. Okay, number 1 is definitely out because it is still solid. Okay, substance X at 28 degrees Celsius should not be the point where it changes from solid to liquid, because if you look at over here at 32 degrees Celsius, there is some liquid formed, and also there is some original, like not sure if it's called a solid form of substance X. Okay, so 32 degrees Celsius should be the answer because like at the melting point you will see both the solid and the liquid states of the matter. Answer is number 3. Question 16, the diagram shows what a person can do. This shows the property of not strength, not elasticity, flexibility, yes, not waterproof. Okay, number 3. Question 17, Mrs. Tan realizes that there is fogging on her spectacles when she wears her mask as shown. So I'm sure a lot of you who wear spectacles and when you put on the mask, you will experience this also. Which of the following correctly shows where the fogging takes place and where the warmer water vapor comes from? Okay, so we know that the warmer water vapor comes from your own breath, because that is where it is warm. And the fogging takes place in the inner surface of the spectacles because the mask will actually channel or will direct the warm breath towards the inner side of the spectacles. Okay, answer is number 1. Question 18, diagram 1 shows the mass of magnet M when it is placed on an electronic balance. So over here it is 20 gram. Diagram 2 shows its mass when another object is placed above it. So you can see that the mass of it actually decrease, right? Okay, so which of the following shows the material of object Y? Okay, and the direction of magnetic force acting on object Y. Okay, so since the mass of the reading the mass of the magnet M decrease, so it shows that there is a force of attraction between a magnet M and object Y. Okay, which tells me that object Y must be a magnetic material. So immediately I can cross out copper, and I'm left with steel. Okay, so now looking for the direction of the magnetic force acting on object Y. So be careful, it is the force that is acting on object Y. So magnet M will exert a downward force on object Y. Okay, so the answer should be number 3. Question 19. 3 children were making shadow animals with their hands. They placed their hands which were of the same size at position X, Y, and Z between a light source and the wall as shown below. Okay, the size of each shadow animals were seen on the wall as shown below. So you can see that this the reindeer is the biggest, the rabbit is like the medium size, and the snail is the smallest. So which of the following shows the positions of the children's hand X, Y, and Z? Okay, so the reindeer, which is the biggest, should be the one that is nearest and nearest to the light source. And so the snail should be the one that is furthest, right, away. So this should be the snail. This should be the reindeer. So for the reindeer, it should be X, X. Okay, rabbit should be Y, and the snail should be Z. Answer is number 1. Question 20. Then released a tennis ball and a basketball each from the same height above the ground. The balls hit on the ground and bounced a few times before stopping. He measured the height of the first rebound for each ball as shown below. And next, he placed the tennis ball on top of the basketball as shown below over here, before releasing them from the same height. He observed that the tennis ball bounced higher into the air than before as shown below. So the bounce. After he released them, the tennis ball will bounce higher. Okay, which one of the following is the best explanation for his observation? There was less friction between tennis ball and the air. I don't think there is a change between the air and the tennis ball, so it should not be about friction. Less friction between basketball and the tennis ball. Well, the bounce of the height is not due to friction, so we can actually eliminate option 1 and 2. Option 3, the gravitational potential energy of the basketball was converted to kinetic energy of the tennis ball. Okay. Continue with option 4 first. The elastic potential energy of the compressed basketball when it hit the ground was converted to kinetic energy of the tennis ball. Okay, in this case, option 3 and 4 both sounds correct, so we have to try our best to pick the best explanation. Okay, if you look at the energy conversion of the let's look at option 3, the energy conversion. The gravitational potential energy of the basketball, was converted to kinetic energy of the tennis ball. Okay, so the thing that they failed to mention is actually it is the gravitational potential energy of the basketball, which will be converted to the elastic potential energy of the basketball, which then will be converted into kinetic energy of the tennis ball. Okay, as for option 4, it says that the elastic potential energy of the compressed basketball when it hit the ground was converted to kinetic energy of the tennis ball. Okay, so option 4 sounds like the better explanation because what's missing in option 3 is the elastic potential energy. Okay, so remember, if you don't mention something in your answer, we will treat it as you do not know that it is a requirement. Okay, so the answer is option 4. Question 21. Which one of the following is an example of the effect of force? Okay, effect of force, if you remember, like can cause a stationary object to move and change the direction of a moving object. All these you should be familiar. Okay, leaves falling from a tree. Probably yes, because if a force doesn't exert on the leaf, then they will not be falling. Ice cubes melting on the tabletop is not an example of a force, is an example of energy gain. Fish being cooked by the steam is also an example of energy gain, heat energy gain. Powder of water gaining heat, yep, this is also energy gain, heat. So the answer is number 1. Question 22, the diagram shows a cylinder and a plunger. When the cylinder was filled with substance P, the plunger was able to be pushed down to a certain extent, but not when it is filled with substance Q. So maybe this is air, maybe substance Q is liquid or even solid. Okay, based on the observations, which of the following are correct? So substance Q has a definite volume. Okay, so if it cannot be pushed down, yes, it will have a definite volume. Substance Q has a definite shape, maybe not. Okay, because liquid does not have a definite shape, but it cannot be pushed down. There are air spaces in substance P. Yes, maybe that's the reason why you can push it down and compress it a little bit. So it should be option number 2, which is the answer. Okay, question 33. The diagram below shows the different processes A, B, C, D, E, F in a water cycle. Which one of the following is correct? Involving a change of state. A and B. Okay, probably because A is from a liquid gas, okay, and B is from gas to liquid. Okay, so A, B, and F. I'm not so sure about F, so let us move on to maybe does it involve heat loss? Okay, B will definitely involve in heat loss. C, definitely not heat loss. Okay, so we are left with option 1 or 2 because F, I wasn't sure. F is changing into water vapor. So, yep, in this case, basically the liquid in the leaves will evaporate into water vapor. So this is also a change of state. So the answer will be number 2. Question 24, Ahmad wanted to find out how the volume of water will affect the temperature of hot water over a period of time. Okay, he used 4 identical containers to set up P, Q, R, and S as shown below. Okay, so what he wants to find out is how the volume of water, okay, will affect the temperature. Which 2 setups should be used for his experiment? So okay, we should be using an experiment where the change variable is the volume of water, P and Q doesn't show a change in the volume of water, P and R. Okay, maybe. Q and R, okay, Q and R, no, there's no change in volume. R and S, okay, so P and Q, let's take a look at P and Q. And let's take a look at R and S. Oh, okay, we should be using P and R because P and R have the same temperature. Okay, but R and S, they have different temperature. So the answer is number 2. Question 25. There were 2 identical cups A and B, okay, containing same amount of hot water on a table. The water was at the same temperature in both cups. Bala placed a piece of bubble wrap onto cup A as shown in the diagram. Okay, bubble wrap. After 5 minutes, Bala observed that the water in cup A had a higher temperature than that in cup B. So which of the following could be the most likely reason for the observation above? Heat was transferred from the bubble wrap to the cup in A. No. The bubble wrap increased the rate of evaporation of water in cup A. Okay, also no, because if the rate of evaporation increased, then the temperature will drop faster. Bubble wrap increased the rate of condensation. Doesn't sound correct. Bubble wrap reduced the heat transfer from the water in cup A to the surroundings. Yes, so the answer is number 4. Question 26, study the circuit below. So there is like 2 batteries connected to 4 bulbs W, X, Y, and Z, and it is a combination of both series and parallel connection. Okay, which bulb when blown allows the 3 other bulbs to remain lit? Okay, it will only be W, because when W is blown, the current will still be able to flow from here to here to here. Okay, and back to here. So answer is number 1. Question 37. Ravi placed a book on a wooden plank as shown in diagram 1. He raised the wooden plank till the book starts to slide down, and then he measured the angle of plank as shown in diagram 2. Okay, so the table below shows the results of different types of wooden planks A, B, and C, and the angle at which the book starts to slide down. Okay, which of the following correctly shows the relationship between the angle of plank and the amount of friction between the plank and the book? So in this case, we can see that between A, B, and C, okay, so B has got the highest amount of angle, which means that wooden plank B is the most rough. Okay, and wooden plank A is the one that is the most smooth. Okay, so in terms of friction between the book and the plank, okay, we can see that only option 1 and 2 are in the correct order of B, C, and A. Okay, so option 3 and 4 are out. Okay, so the only difference between option 1 and 2 is basically here. Look at here and here. When the angle of the plank is 0, is the friction between the plank and book 0, or is there a certain amount of friction? The answer should be number 2. Okay, when the angle is 0, the friction between the wooden plank and the book is considered to be 0. Question 28. Asri used the trolley to push some boxes for delivery. He was able to push the trolley faster after each box was delivered. Okay, so that means the boxes will be getting lesser and lesser. Which of the following explain the phenomenon? Okay, option A, there was less friction between trolley and the floor. Okay, probably because as the boxes becomes lesser and lesser, then the trolley will also become lighter and lighter. Okay, he has to overcome less gravitational force between the trolley and the earth. Maybe not. Okay, more kinetic energy of R3 was converted to more kinetic energy of the trolley. In this case, yeah, because as the trolley gets lighter and lighter, so can also exert more, R3 can exert more kinetic energy, which can be converted into more kinetic energy. Okay, so for question 28, the answer is number 2. Okay, let's move on to paper 2, the written section, question 29 to 40. Question 29, May conducted an experiment with two fruits T and U as shown. So fruit T has got stiff hairs, fruit U has got fine hairs. Okay, she dropped fruit T and U from a height of 120 cm in front of a fan. She measured the distance D traveled by the fruits. Okay, so the results are shown below. Fruit T, okay, traveled a distance of 5 cm, and fruit U traveled a distance of 50 cm. The method of dispersal for fruit T and U. So fruit T is probably dispersed by animals, okay, because of the stiff hair which can hook onto the fur of animals, like how your Velcro works. And for fruit U is probably dispersed by wind, okay, because of the fine hair, and the seed over here looks like it's tiny and lightweight. Explain why the distance traveled by fruit U is further. Okay, so so in this case, we can talk about the fine hair and the fact that fruit U looks tiny and lightweight. Okay, so fruit U is tiny and light. Okay, it also has fine hair. Fine hair. Yep. It also has fine hairs to allow it to stay put in air for a longer time. Okay, but part C, how do young plants benefit when they grow further away from the parent plants? So how do the young plants benefit? They reduce the chances of overcrowding. Okay, you shouldn't be writing they prevent overcrowding, because they do not totally prevent. They reduce the chances of overcrowding. Okay. Maybe I should write more. Okay, they reduce the chances of overcrowding, so that young plants and grow better. Okay, question 30. Penny wanted to investigate the process of digestion in human body using digestive juices. Diagram shows the two test tube X and Y at the start of the experiment. So test tube X has got a biscuit cube 10 gram, okay, digestive juice 10 cubic cm. Test tube Y has got a biscuit cube 10 gram, digestive juices 10 cubic cm also. Okay, everything is the same except for this. The biscuit cube is cut into small pieces for test tube Y. Okay, he measured the time for the biscuits to be completely digested. Give a reason why Henny chose a temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, okay, for the water in the container. If you look at the question itself, he or she wanted to investigate the process of digestion in human body, right? Okay, so in this case, the temperature of 37 degrees Celsius is the closest to our body temperature, right? So that would be the best temperature if you want to conduct this experiment. Okay, so the temperature of 37 degrees Celsius is closest the body temperature of a human. In part B, in which test tube should the biscuit be completely digested first? Explain why. Okay, that would be test tube Y, because the biscuit cube are cut into smaller pieces, so this will increase the exposed surface area of the biscuit to the digestive juice. Okay, so it would be a test tube Y. The biscuit Y cut into smaller pieces, okay, which will increase the exposed surface area okay, in contact with the digestive juice, okay, to increase the rate of digestion. Okay, so Henny studied the body systems in the human body as shown below. The arrow represents the flow of blood. Okay, so the small intestine, the heart and the lungs. Okay, which arrow represents the blood that is rich in digested foods? So definitely must come from the small intestine, and it must be arrow C where the blood is leaving the small intestine. Okay, describe how oxygen in the lungs reach the other parts of the body. Oxygen in the surrounding it will pass through the walls of the air sac and enter the bloodstream. Okay, and then the blood rich in oxygen it will be transported other parts of the body by the circulatory system. Question 31. Mei Ling investigated the volume of water taken in by plants using setup A as shown below. Okay, she filled the tube with water until it reached the brim of the measuring instrument. Okay, then she made a plant cutting to put in the tube and sealed it tightly. Okay. She measured the volume of water taken in by the plant in 30 minutes. Okay, how did she measure the volume of water taken in by the plant? Okay, so how does she measure the volume of by comparing by looking at the water level in the measuring instrument at the end of 30 minutes. Okay, so she repeated her experiment in similar condition using two other setups, B and C, applying oil on different surfaces of the leaves as shown in the table below. Okay, so setup B, she applied oil on the upper surface and not the lower surface. Setup C, she applied oil on the lower surface and not the upper surface. Okay, she recorded the volume of water taken in by the plant as shown below. Okay, setup A is the setup where no oil is applied. Okay, leaves have tiny openings on their surfaces, which is the stomata. Okay, state one function of the tiny openings, okay, to allow for gaseous exchange between the leaf, okay, and its surroundings. Okay, based on the results in the table above, which is this table over here. Okay, which surface of leaves, upper or lower, has more tiny openings? Okay, using only materials shown below, describe a method and observation to show your answer. Okay, so in this question, you should know that the lower surface of a leaf, okay, will have more stomatas, right? Okay, so we can basically just soak the leaf inside the beaker of hot water and observe for like which surface will produce more water bubbles. Okay, so we need to describe a method and we need to describe the observation shown to show your answer. Okay, I think I'm supposed to write the answer of part C over here. Which surface of leaves, upper or lower, has more tiny openings? So we know that it is the lower surface. Okay, because based on the result for setup C, where oil is applied on the lower surface, okay, we can see that the volume of water taken in, okay, is lesser, which also means that the volume of water lost by the leaf is lesser. So just need to immerse the leaf into the beaker of hot water. Okay, so what will we observe? We will observe that there will be more air bubbles on the lower surface of the leaf. Question 32. Paul left a piece of fruit in an open container A. After 3 days, he found maggots on a piece of fruit as shown below. So container A, there were maggots on the fruit, okay, because it is exposed to open air. So he researched and found out that maggots are the larvae of fruit flies. Okay, draw and label the life cycle of the fruit fly in the box below. Okay, so I'm not gonna draw because I'm very bad at drawing. I'm just gonna write down the life cycle, which starts with eggs. Okay, and then it will be it will go on to the larvae stage, which is the maggots. And then after that, you will form the pupa stage. And then after that, they will become the adult, which is the fruit flies. Okay, so draw the arrow. This will complete the life cycle of the fruit fly. And do some adjustment, I think. Plural form. Okay, so Paul wanted to investigate if the type of seal of the container would affect the life cycle of fruit flies. So he placed a piece of fruit of the same size in 2 setups. After 3 days, the results were as shown below. So setup B, there were no maggots on the fruit. Okay, setup C, there were maggots on the fine mesh but not on the fruit. Okay, explain why the maggots that hatched on the fine mesh in container C could not complete their life cycle. It's because they had no food, so eventually they're gonna die. Okay, so the maggots on the fine mesh had no food. Eventually, they will die. Okay, part C, can container A and B be used to confirm that maggots did not come from fruit? Explain why. Okay, so container B is this one with the sealed lid. Okay, and container A is the one with the open lid. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, so the change between container A and B is the fruit's contact with fruit flies. Okay, so this will allow or to confirm if maggots came from the fruits or not. Question 33. Andrew wants to investigate how temperature of water affects the number of bubbles produced by the water plant in 1 minute. So in this question, investigate how temperature of water will be the change variable. Okay, affects the number of bubbles will be the measured variable. Okay, so he set up the experiment as shown below in a lit room. Set all the requirements for the water plant to produce the bubbles. Okay, which means that all the requirements for photosynthesis Okay, the water plant requires water, carbon dioxide, light and chlorophyll. Andrew counted the number of bubbles produced at different temperatures. His results are shown on the graph below. State the relationship between the temperature of water and the number of bubbles produced. So in this question, you need to explain the relationship in two stages. The first stage will be from 0 to 10, no bubbles. And from 10 to 40, it will be increase. So as the temperature of water increase from 0 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius, comma, no bubbles were produced. When the temperature of water increase from 10 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, comma, the number of bubbles produced increases. Question 34. Melvin wanted to find out how the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide changes in a plant. Place a plant in a sealed glass container in a bright place. So he carried out his experiment using his results, and he plotted the graphs as shown below. So the volume of gas, there is a graph A and graph B. We can roughly guess what is the gas of graph A and graph B. Part A, identify the gases for graph A and B. Graph A should be oxygen. Graph B should be carbon dioxide. Because the plant has got all the conditions for photosynthesis, so it should be releasing oxygen and taking in carbon dioxide. Part B, which letter X, Y, or Z represents a noon time, and explain why. It should be Z. It is because the level of oxygen is the highest, and the level of carbon dioxide is the lowest. Which suggests that the amount of light is the highest like during noontime. Okay, question 35. Kumar placed 3 steel paper clips into a glass beaker containing liquid X. Okay, he used the north pole of the magnet to touch the glass beaker as shown below. Okay, state a property of magnets that Kumar is trying to show. Okay, a magnet exert a magnetic force across a non-magnetic material. Okay, so Kumar repeated the same experiment, but he changed the part of the magnet touching the glass beaker. Using the same beaker, steel paper clips and magnet, okay, he observed that the steel paper clips moved slower towards the magnet. Okay, which part of the magnet was touching the glass beaker, and explain. Okay, so you must set yourself to think, why does it move slower? Okay, this probably means that there was a weaker magnetic force, and only like a possible place of the magnet which has got a weaker magnetic force would be the middle part of the magnet. Okay, so which part of the magnet was touching the glass beaker? The middle part. Okay, so explain. So part of the magnet have weaker magnetic force. Okay. State another variable that Kumar must keep the same in the above experiment. Okay, so the keyword is another variable, so you want to make sure that you know which are the variables that the question already mentioned. Same beaker, paper clips, and magnet. Okay, so maybe you want to talk about the type of liquid. Okay, so the type of liquid must be the same. Question 36. Okay, a teacher, Mr. Lim, set up the apparatus as shown. He placed it under the sun for a few hours. Okay, so there is a setup and a clear plastic wrap over the container. This is a clear plastic container, and there is a bowl in the middle with water. Okay, Mr. Lim then observed the decrease in the water level in the container. Draw in the diagram above another possible observation he can make on the plastic wrap. Okay, so probably you will observe like a water droplets, right? Instead, the two processes involved for its observations to take place, so it must be evaporation and condensation. Mr. Lim's students went for a hike in the jungle and they decided to use their teacher's method to collect drinkable water as shown below. So there is like a hole and a container is placed in the middle. And they placed a plastic sheet over the hole and placed a rock in the middle so that the water can drip towards the container. It suggests one way the students can collect more water. Explain why the method works. Okay, so we can probably replace the rock with ice. Okay, so this will reduce the temperature of the plastic sheet. Okay, to increase the rate of condensation. Okay, question 37. The graph below shows how the length of materials P and Q changes as temperature changes. So the length of a material P increases more than Q as temperature increase. Okay, the materials made of material P and Q are stuck together in two different positions in 1 and 2 as shown below. So the difference between 1 and 2 is the position of cup Q and P. Cups made of material P and Q. So D1 was given a basin of hot water to separate P and Q based on the graph above, in which position 1 or 2 should she use hot water to separate P and Q in a shorter time. Draw a label to show how she could separate them. Okay, so in this case, probably you want to use setup 1, or setup 1 or position 1, and put it in hot water. So I'm gonna try and draw the cup. This will be Q, and then another cup outside, which is the P. Okay, and then put it in a basin of hot water. Okay, so explain how the way in A works to separate P and Q in a shorter time. Okay, so from the graph, we can actually see that P expands faster than Q. Okay, so from the graph, we can deduce that P expands faster than Q. So this setup, it will allow it to come contact. Okay, with the hot water to allow it to expand. And be separated. Okay, question 38. Pauline set up the apparatus below to investigate how mass of the object in a cut affects the distance d. So how mass of the objects in the cut affects the distance. This is the change and measured variable. Okay, when it hits the floor at B and stop at C. Okay, Pauline repeated the experiment using objects of different mass placed inside the cut. The results of her experiment are shown in the table below. Okay, so the mass of the objects that is placed inside the cut is 50 grams, 100 grams, 150 grams. You can see that the distance traveled is increasing from 10 to 16 to 22. Okay, fill in the boxes below to show the energy conversion as the cut moved from A to C. Okay, so it will start off with gravitational potential energy. Okay. Okay, which will be converted into kinetic energy. Okay, and this kinetic energy will be converted into heat and sound energy. Okay, so explain how the mass of the object affects the distance d that the cut moves. Okay, so as the mass of the objects increase, okay, as the mass of the objects increase, this will allow for more potential energy to be converted into more kinetic energy. Okay, remember we got to talk about the distance, right? Okay, so as the mass of the objects increase, this will allow for more potential energy to be converted into more kinetic energy, which will allow the cut to move a longer distance. Okay, part C, give a reason why Pauline used the same cut for her experiment. Okay, so this is to ensure that only the change variable of A mass of objects. It can affect the results of the experiment. Okay, so for this kind of question, you cannot say that it is to ensure that it is a fair test. You need to explain why this will allow it to be a fair test. Okay, so it's either you say this will allow this will ensure that that only the change variable of the whatever the experiment is can affect the results of the experiment, or you can say that this is to ensure that the measured variable will not be affected by in this case will not be affected by the size of the cut or the difference in the cut. Okay, part D. Polly wants to modify her setup to find out the relationship between the height of the ramp and the distance d. Suggest 2 ways to change her setup. So it obviously if the change variable now, height of the ramp, right? So the first thing we must change is suggest 2 ways to change her setup. Increase the height of the ramp. Okay, then make sure the mass of the cut is the same. Or should we just say remove all of mass of yeah, okay, maybe we should say that remove all objects in the cut. Okay, question 39. Mei-Ling sets up a toy house as shown in the diagram. She wants the 2 bulbs to be lit at the same time and of equal brightness. Okay, when she closes the switch, complete the diagram in the complete the circuit in the diagram above so that it will work as described. Okay, so in this case, you can either draw a series connection or a parallel connection, because what she wants is this, okay, of equal brightness, right, when she closes the switch. So I'm going to draw a series connection, because series connection should be easier. I'm gonna draw from the switch first to the casing of the light bulb. I'm gonna connect to the casing of the light bulb, and from the tip of this light bulb I'm gonna connect to the back of the battery. Okay, this will become a closed circuit when she closes the switch. Okay, state the arrangement of the bulbs in your drawing. See this arrangement. Question 40. Tom set up a doorbell D using 2 circuits containing 2 switches as shown. So there is a circuit A and there is a circuit B. Okay, explain how the doorbell rang when Tom closed switch A. Okay, so in this case, when the switch is closed, right, the iron bar over here will be magnetized, and it will cause the iron arm to be attracted to it. So it will pull down this iron arm, and when it pulls down this iron arm, it will cause this part over here to push against the switch of circuit B, and then it will close circuit B, which will allow for electrical current to flow through the doorbell, and then the doorbell will ring. Okay, explain how the doorbell rang when Tom closed circuit A. Okay, when closed circuit A, okay, the iron bar will be magnetized. And it will attract the iron arm. Okay, so this will cause the iron arm to move down closing the switch in circuit B. Okay, so when circuit B is closed, electric current will flow through the doorbell and it will ring. Okay, part B. Tom replaced spring R with another spring S. So this spring R over here. Okay, and observe that the doorbell did not ring when circuit A was closed. They gave a reason for this observation. Okay, probably he replaced it with a spring that is very stiff. So okay, the magnetic force of the circuit A is not strong enough to overcome the spring. Okay, so the ring when circuit was as spring A, spring as might be stiffer than R. Okay, the magnetic force of iron bar is not strong enough to stretch it. Okay, without changing spring S, what can Tom do if he wants the doorbell to ring when circuit A is closed? Okay, so if it is as like what I said, if the magnetic force of the iron bar is not strong enough, so probably we can increase the strength of the electromagnet by Tom can add more batteries okay, to circuit A. Okay, so we have come to the end of this paper, and if you have any questions regarding this paper, please leave a comment on the video, and or you can contact me through my Facebook page, or you can also contact me through WhatsApp. And if you find this video useful, you can always share it with your friend, and hope that they will also benefit from the video. Okay, so I will see you all in the next video.